Well, happy holidays. We want to just throw that out there. This is a Browns week, but we got the holidays in full effect, and we got a football game, boys and girls. So you know what we do at Locked On Browns podcast. We got to get right into it. Got some good news, a little gift under the Christmas tree. Ethan Pocic is practicing. That means he's on schedule to participate and play in the game. That should upgrade the run game. It should upgrade the passing game. We'll talk about that and much more about the offensive side of the football. And then in the second segment, we'll get to, boy, it's going to be some winter weather. It is December here in Cleveland, Ohio. So we got to talk about the crazy winter weather that we're supposed to be expecting for the game on against the New Orleans Saints. We'll talk about that, how that affects Deshaun Watson and passing game, and what to expect as far as points goes on the board against the New Orleans Saints. And then finally, we got a little hypothetical here. You know, the Browns aren't mathematically eliminated. We throw the question out to you. Would you rather go to the playoffs if they win out? Or what if you had their first round pick back from the Houston Texans? You'll be surprised what I think about it. And we'll be surprised and we'll check out what Jeff thinks about it as well. We got a festive Locked On Browns podcast coming up next.
You are Locked On Browns, your daily Cleveland Browns podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends, your daily delivery of all things Dog Pound, LGB, Honey LOB, the Locked On Browns podcast, brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Your hosts, Jeff Lloyd at Jeff_LJ_Lloyd from the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, the Barbershop 92.3, The Fan, pregame, postgame coverage, Browns, Buckeyes, Cavaliers, Guardians, you name it. Mr. Garrett Bush at GBush91. Picked up a ton of new subscribers here over the last, I would say probably a week and a half or so. Deshaun Watson adding to that. The words of Mr. Todd Graham certainly adding to that. So all the new listeners, we appreciate it. Guys, stick around. We are here daily. And obviously this is a big week. Yes, holidays involved. Happy Hanukkah. To everybody as that is underway. Christmas weekend coming here. Your Brownies in action on Saturday. Some of y'all starting to hit that vacation time for the holidays. God bless you all with that. But we'll be here every day doing our thing like we always do. And we appreciate you all for making Locked On Browns your first listen, whether it's on your favorite podcast platform, here on YouTube. Again, make sure you subscribe, have notifications on. Also, you throw some likes on the episodes for us, guys. Just helps with promotion. And if you got the Roku app, search Locked On Cleveland Sports. You'll find us. You find G and the crew over at the UCSS. Of course, Locked On Guardians and Locked On Cavaliers. Practice notes from today. Myles Garrett didn't practice with an illness. John Johnson III, the thigh contusion, out of practice today. Jadeveon Clowney, I would just probably figure it's safe to say Jadeveon Clowney's out to this point. It's really gonna be hard to come back, onto the field from a head injury to a field that's gonna be frozen. Nick Chubb out of practice today with a foot. We'll see if that means something. I got a hard time seeing Nick Chubb miss a big game, and he did finish the game on Saturday, so that could maybe be a positive here. And if anybody deserves a day of rest or two, it is certainly Mr. Nick Chubb. But the bigger news out of that front is, and quietly out of nowhere, the window of opportunity to return from the injured reserve list is now there for Ethan Pocic. Practice today with the anticipation that Ethan Pocic will be ready to go on Saturday. Again, it's getting weird to say Saturday with the NFL. On Saturday for your Cleveland Browns. I was doing Sports for CLA earlier today, and we talked about this, and the first thing I said is, did anybody ever think we'd utter the phrase this year, man, this team misses Ethan Pocic?
Not at all.
Right.
Zero. Who is that?
This guy went from one of the quietest free agent signings to a huge, huge part of the Cleveland Browns offense this year. The offensive line play dipped. The running game dipped in the 4 starts that Ethan Pocic missed. Ironically enough, the Cleveland Browns were 3-1 during those games. So everybody keeps talking about it. But Ethan Pocic, certainly a much, much more capable player. And I don't even know if anybody still know how to say his name yet. Yaholi Froho, whatever. Froyo is all I think when I see the guy.
AKA Haagen-Dazs.
I know you guys go Haagen-Dazs. I look at him, I just think Froyo. It's good enough. I'm sure he's got a million of them because I'm sure nobody even who's close to him knows how to pronounce his name. But Pocic is just a better puller. He's stronger on the inside. You allow for Joe Bitonio and Wyatt Teller to play stress-free football. They don't have to worry about something other than their own opportunity. That was the level of Ethan Pocic was playing, to the point where I'd be really, really surprised if the Browns don't find a way in the coming weeks to maybe work out a longer-term deal with Ethan Pocic. He's a free agent at the end of the year. You get good finds like this. You pair him with a coach like Bill Callahan. You get success. You maybe want to find a way to keep that relationship going. There will be money coming off the books. I doubt Pocic is going to look to break the bank here because he was a fiddling player in his time in Seattle. You get here, you get the opportunity under the tutelage of somebody like Bill Callahan. You play in between two players like Bitonio and Telly, who certainly help your own game. It's a really, really dream position for Ethan Pocic to be in. They ran the ball better against Baltimore. The Saints are alive because the NFC South is a division that nobody wants to win. Nobody wants to win. I mean, I think anybody in that division, if they go 2-1 down the stretch, they take home the NFC West, and most likely they're going to do it with a losing record. So that's the opportunity there. But getting Pocic back at this point in time, and certainly the fact, like you said, this came out of nowhere. This is like that box that showed up on the porch, and you had you're expecting stuff this time of year, but then you open it up, and someone in your family who you weren't expecting sent you something nice. This was a big, big get for a Browns team, and especially seeing, and we're going to get to this in segment 2, that this game Saturday is most likely going to be all about toting a rock.
It's really great that we talk about getting a little surprise, a little something under the Christmas tree you didn't expect. Ethan Pocic is a guy who's been a gift that continues to give all year. You get Nick Harris that goes down. You don't know what you have at a vital position. We talked about bringing J.C. Treader back, and this offensive line was rolling when Pocic was in there. I mean, we were running the ball. You had no drop off. You were able to still do some of your gap schemes, some of your pulling schemes, because he was really a strong anchor inside. So now you get him back. And then you talk about a little bit more going towards next year. You're thinking about it like this, Jeff. You got an opportunity to have your offensive line potentially back at a position of strength. You're going to have Pocic back, right? Nick Harris comes back, hopefully well from injury, but you can walk him in slowly to this thing. You also got Hubbard won't be here next year, but you got your right tackle. You have him coming in from Cincinnati, and he played very well to start off. I think they're waiting to see James Hudson. They're wanting to see a little more of him, and now you can figure out, okay, we can move on from Conklin probably, or unless he wants to take a discount, and potentially if you say, look, we might want to just move. We want to move Jedrick Wills to the right side and see what Hudson does at that position. Because I'll tell you what, I think he's athletic enough, especially with his footwork, being a former defensive lineman. So now you get those guys back, and that's the great thing about offensive line when you can find somebody. And this is going to be important for the Cleveland Browns moving forward. You're going to have to find some diamonds in the rough as this cap restraints start getting a little tighter. The purse strings are going to get tighter. You don't have those picks. So thinking about it, you're looking at needing to hit on second-round picks. You're needing some of those guys that you drafted in the 3rd or 4th round to come on around. You need a guy like Perrion Winfrey to take some steps in the offseason and become a defensive tackle, so you don't have to consistently say, well, where am I getting these tackle? Where am I getting these guys from? So all these are really big type things to think about. Ethan Pocic has been a nice find. He's going to pay dividends in the future, but specifically in a cold weather game where the weather is terrible, he's going to pay dividends for a team that's trying to get over the hump to get to 9-8, to have a solid season. And then more importantly, say Deshaun Watson has a 5-game winning streak going into the offseason, which would be great.
Nothing gets G. Bush going more than to say former defensive lineman. You can see him just light up. He's all excited.
Diamond over there. You got the feet. You know what it's about. You used to sack quarterbacks. Shouldn't nobody be able to mess with you on the O-line, man?
No question. And the other thing is you can't talk trash on the one side unless you get put over the other. So now, hey, you know how it thinks, you know how it works. But look, it's going to give the Browns options. And, for Nick Harris, I think Nick Harris is the worst thing that ever happened to him because we didn't know what Nick Harris was. We know what Ethan Pocic is. And he was a damn good center in the system. And he was somebody that was severely, severely missed in the time he was out, even, taking the record out of the equation. Ethan Pocic was solid here. And if you can get the level of Joe Bitonio to go up, the level of Wyatt Teller to go up, and the tackles, we'll figure it out. But at the end of the day, those tackles, they got to be the fourth and fifth best offensive lineman on this team. So the Browns certainly need options. There is no question about that. We are going to flip it up here. Hey, has anybody noticed it's going to be really cold on Saturday? I don't know if you guys heard. It's going to be really cold in Cleveland on Saturday. We're going to get to this. I'm going to tell you right now. I don't want to hear anything about Deshaun Watson's stat line when this game is over on Saturday. Because look at it this way. Even if he's bad, most likely you should. Even if he was good, what's he going to play in? Maybe 2, maybe more games like this weather-wise in the rest of his career. So we're going to kick into that. Jeff Lloyd, G. Bush, your latest Locked On Browns. Guys, I am geeked out by our new partner and sponsor of today's episode, the mobile game Ultimate Football GM. You ever dreamed of becoming an NFL GM and managing your favorite football franchise? Well, your dream can come true, and this game is definitely for you. Manage every strategic aspect of your team, play through the season, and lead your team to glory. You're responsible for hiring the right coaches and coordinators, trading players, making draft choices, navigating your franchise through free agency and the draft, and all the ups and downs of the season. All this in a challenging and realistic game world. Ultimate Football GM is completely free and playable offline. Play on the go as you want and when you want to. I've opened up my account. I've opened up my team. We got a lot of work to do. We got players that need to be re-signed. We got players that retired. We got a draft coming up that we hold the first overall pick in. So decisions have to be made in far as that. Look, you're all going to be home a lot over the next couple of weeks. You want something to do, go ahead, check this out. Locked On Browns listeners get a 100% free boost to their franchise when using the promo Locked On, all caps, in the game store. That's Locked On in all caps, so make sure to check it out today. To download the game, just visit ultimate-gm.com or look it up on the App Store. That's ultimate-gm.com. Ultimate Football GM. Start your dynasty today. Turo is the world's largest car sharing marketplace. With Turo, you can book your car, any car you want, whenever you want it, from a community of local hosts. Browse a huge selection of vehicles for just about any occasion or budget. Book an SUV or minivan for a family road trip, a pickup truck for some errands, or even test drive an EV. Every trip is backed by liability insurance. Terms, conditions, and exclusions apply. Forget boring rental cars and find your drive at Turo.com.
Welcome back to the Locked On Browns podcast. G. Bush, Jeff Lloyd. Follow me at GBush91 on Twitter. Follow Jeff at Jeff_LJ_Lloyd. And we want to thank you guys out there throughout your Christmas season. And we just want to thank everybody out there. You know, it's been a really great success over here. Just to think about it, we didn't even have a Locked On Browns YouTube page, right? To go from not having a Locked On Browns to having over 4,000 subscribers in a very short time is a blessing.
7 months, yeah.
It's 7 months where, you guys have been jumping on, you guys have been supporting, and it's only going to continue to pick up. We've just begun with this channel. So we want to thank you guys for definitely supporting us and supporting us all over wherever you get your podcasts, and continue to like and subscribe to our channels and spread it by word of mouth as well. We're going to thank you guys, and we're going to continue to give you the best content possible in 2023 as well. Jeff, we talked about this a little bit. I do the Browns pregame show for 92.3 The Fan, and I think we are in conjunction with the Locked On brand. You can find that on the Odyssey app, by the way. It's about to be crazy. This weather, people have been talking about it for well over a week now. It's supposed to be crazy amounts of wind, and we talked about it going back a couple of years, those windy games when you had Baker Mayfield, the windy game against the Philadelphia Eagles, terrible weather against, I believe, after the Eagles, it was the Oakland Raiders. They played, and it was just horrible weather. This is going to be a game where you're going to see some of that, coming off the lake, wind, snow, all the above, letter D. And when you talk about Deshaun Watson, it's his fourth game. He had terrible, weather last week. We made a lot out of the whole situation with Deshaun Watson, not technically liking cold weather too much, but he's in the city now. I thought he acclimated himself well. I thought he played well last game. But this game, I think people should temper their expectations, because this should be a strictly run game. This should be a game where the offensive line runs the ball, Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt. I would expect to see Kareem Hunt a lot more in this game as well, too, because I don't think you're going to throw the ball. This might be a game that you may see some pistol formation, and you might see some two tight end sets. It's not going to be directly shotgun, but you get in the pistol, you can turn around, you can run your zone stuff, you can pull and do some things, and you can hit your tight ends. Now the Browns have both of their tight ends back. You may see some of the more of the Jacoby Brissett package, but 11, 12 personnel, 13 personnel out of the pistol, which still gives a little bit more opportunity with some mobility there. So, what do you expect to see this weekend, Jeff? Because this weather, I think it's going to really limit the ability for all you fantasy owners out there in your championships. You might want to look elsewhere in terms of a quarterback for this week if you're looking for production.
Well, the other thing is some of your options aren't much better because the weather's going to be a factor pretty much everywhere. And we got into this. This is where Twitter is just annoying. Football's supposed to be made outside your time. Yeah, guess what? Firemen back in the building back in the day used to run into a building without a mask on, with no oxygen tanks. As the years evolve, we become more intelligent. We become better educated.
You get a little more information, Jeff.
Playing a football game in -9 degrees is absolutely insane. First things first, just standing outside in -9 degree weather, you can't breathe. Your body physically hurts. So, and first thing, I don't need to hear the toughness. These guys will go out there and do it. That's their job. They get paid a boatload of money to do it. But, anybody, that's why you would never want a dome. Yeah, well, here's the other thing. City of Cleveland, why would you want a dome? You'd want to host a WrestleMania. You'd want to host a Super Bowl. You want to power the economy of your city. Think about all these artists that only come to play in Cleveland, Ohio, in the spring and the summer. They could be year-round attractions. It's just it makes no sense. There's a couple of things you think about this. First things first, games like this, you get like an oddity. Like you might get like one guy on either team who it just doesn't affect. And the guy goes out there and it's like, well, who even thought he'd get the ball, let alone be successful with it? Maybe it's a game where Dearness Johnson, who knows? Yeah, it's just, there's things like this that are just so weird and an anomaly, and you never see it. And like one guy's just maybe ready to go. And I'll tell you right now, I would use Dearness Johnson because Dearness Johnson's the fastest running back in that room. So if you get an opportunity to get number 30 out there, get a little play, go ahead and do it. Passing expectations. Look, you can catch a break every now and then. But even as strong as these wins are going to be, like everybody's like, oh, well, if we're traveling this side of the field now this quarter, we'll be all right. 30 miles an hour? It don't matter what side of the field it is. You might get a break on a play or two where the winds die down. Anytime throwing the ball, you're most likely going to roll it out. Because you're going to roll it out, what are you going to hope for? That you don't have to throw it. You're going to hope that everybody drops and your quarterback can go get you 5-6 yards, take a slide. Nick Chubb, this is going to be interesting with Nick with the foot, because the other thing is, and it's with John Johnson with the contusion in his thigh, things are really cranky to begin with this time of year. You go out there with a banged up foot, a bruise in your thigh, and you out there in -9 degrees. That you need to go 99 degree weather to get those things to loosen up, not -9. So there's a lot of things here. The realistic expectations, Cade York, again, imagine these footballs are going to be like kicking like a mini full keg of beer. That's like what a football feels like when it is frozen. So imagine trying to catch it. Imagine trying to hold it. Imagine trying to kick the dang thing. It ain't easy. One other thing I want to get to with Cade York here. You all love Phil Dawson, the god of the Cleveland Browns kickers. Phil Dawson started his career 22 of 29 for the Cleveland Browns. Cade York is 22 of 30. So you all ready to banish the guy? Give him a little time, and we're certainly not going to use this week to measure. And passing, you might get one shot. You might get one play where the play action worked beautifully. A defender slips, and maybe Maybe, but the wind takes it. The guy doesn't catch it because it's heavy. You maybe get one shot at a big play through the passing game in a game like this. We'll see the way Deshaun handles it. We'll see the way the Browns offensively handle it. I think defensively, it's going to be an easier week for them. And I hear a lot of, oh, Andy Dalton, he'll be ready for this. No, you don't play in -9 degrees. You barely ever in your career play in -9 degrees. And like I said, you're going to get an anomaly. Some guy might be good in something like this. Some guys, they ain't going to be so good. The Texas kids, the Florida kids, the California kids, ain't none of these guys looking forward to it. They're going to say they enjoy it. They're going to say they had some fun. And they even asked Nick Chubb, oh, well, how do you prepare for this? How? How do you prepare for -9? Do you take the team down to like the local butcher and run it, do the Rocky thing where you put them all in the freezer with the hanging meat? There's no way to prepare for this, G.
There's no way you prepare for that. And to be truthful, this is one of those throwback games where, we're going to find out who really tough. You're going to really find out who really tough, because it don't really matter if you talk about 60-mile-an-hour wind. Why would you even be throwing a rock like that? We're going to, you're going to have a game where it's going to be futile to even do certain things. I'm not expecting no made field goals from K. York. I'm not expecting no play action deep balls. I'm not expecting none of that. I feel like it's going to be a knuckle dragger game. It's all about the dudes in the trenches, and whoever going to be the toughest is going to win this football game. And I expect the Browns to win this game, because these are the games that you want to hang your hat on and build some sort of home field advantage for. And I think they got to win this game.
There's no question. I mean, you can't let a team, and for the Saints, how do you recreate this? I mean, you're in another position. I mean, it doesn't get even in like the 30s in Louisiana very often. And, there's a lot of people in this business who normally are there every game day and are saying, oh, it's Christmas Eve, I got family obligations. But meanwhile, in the back of their head, they're saying -9, thank freaking God, I ain't got to be there. We can get to our third and final segment. G. Bush whipped up a little hypothetical. We're going to give it throw it on a roll, see how she plays. Jeff Lloyd, Garrett Bush, your latest Locked On Browns. We've got games Thursday night. We've got games Saturday. We've got games Sunday. We've got games Monday. Look, you're all going to be sitting around Christmas Day. You're going to be with your family and friends. You got 3 games. You know what? Put together some PrizePicks lineups each game. Quarterback, wide receiver from one game. Running back, a tight end for maybe a second, third. There's a lot of things you can do. What you can do is pick 2 to 5 players. And if they will go score more or less than the PrizePicks projection, you can win up to 10 times your money on any entry. You're not competing against other people. It is just you versus the projections available. PrizePicks offers projections on any sport that you watch. It includes the NFL, the NBA, the MLB, NHL, men's, women's, collegiate athletics, MMA. Heck, you can even find cricket if that's your fancy. Entries can be made in 60 seconds or less. It's that easy. Safe and fast withdrawals. Currently operational in over 30 states and Canada. Download the PrizePicks app or go to prizepicks.com to sign up and play daily fantasy sports. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with the promo code Locked On. You deposit $100, they give you $100. You deposit $50, PrizePicks give you $50. Don't forget to enter the promo code Locked On at sign up for an instant deposit match up to $100.
Welcome back to the Locked On Brown podcast. G. Bush, Jeff Lloyd. You make sure you go ahead and subscribe to us and follow us at Locked On Browns. You can find us on YouTube, as well as do that actually on Twitter as well. This is one of the things we brought up, and I talked about this on Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, and it was a decent little hypothetical I threw out there, and it was just basically saying this. The Browns are not eliminated. I think there's a 0.7 chance. And when I mean 0.7, I mean that's less than 1%. Some sites say they have a 1 to 2% chance of making the playoffs, and there's like 17 other things that need to happen.
Gee, let's be honest. This is math you and I can't do. So if some guy wants to say it's 0.07, John Costco, I think he said it's 1. That's fine. I ain't sitting down doing this.
Yeah.
And you know what? And none of it means a hill of beans unless they win the final 3. So
they got to win the final 3. So I say, listen, let's throw this out there, man. Say for instance, there's a genie somewhere, and the genie says the Browns win and they get over 500. You win 9-8. We'll grant you a wish. We either let you in the playoffs at 9-8, as constituted, or you can miss the playoffs at 9-8, and have one of your first round picks from the Houston Texans back. So theoretically, you would get this year's first round pick, that you would have your own first round pick that you're giving to the Texans. At 9-8, I would probably say that that's somewhere around in the early 20s, maybe 22, 23, somewhere in around that area.
If they're not making the playoffs, it's going to be right at like 17 to 19, somewhere in that range. Yeah.
17 to 19, somewhere around that. So I thought about this, Jeff, and it was really a conundrum for me because at one point you want to say, look, I want to give every opportunity that I have to get into that dance. If you are in the dance, you have a shot, right? If you're in the big party, you got a chance to win some games. You do have Deshaun Watson. He has some games under his belt. The team is relatively healthy. There isn't any major injuries besides the whole linebacker core and the fact that your defensive tackles are terrible. But if you do get in the playoffs and you say, okay, I'll take the playoff for the Genie. Genie, give me the playoff berth. I mean, how far do you expect this team to go? I mean, would you be able to beat the Dolphins? Would you be able to beat the Bills? I mean, is your matchup going to be in the wild card? If you catch somebody from, say, the Titans or whoever's from the AFC South, maybe. But how far would you go? But on the other side of it, Jeff, if you miss the playoffs, you get to go into the playoffs, feeling a little bit good about yourself at 9-8. You went over 500, but you get that first round pick. And that first round pick could be a receiver that stretches the field. That first round pick can be a very deep defensive tackle draft. That could be a pick where you get and you're able to go in and draft a linebacker, impact maybe, or you could take one of those positions and then take the impact linebacker in the second round and move around. So it's very, I would say, I would hedge my bet and say, I'm a competitor. I don't know what these draft picks are going to do. Give me the playoff berth. I don't know what we might. I don't have very much faith that we can stop the run, and I still think we need another defensive coordinator. But we play the game to win, in the words of Herman Edwards. And sometimes getting into the playoffs is your goal because it puts you in another step towards your ultimate goal, which is a Super Bowl. And you can't win a Super Bowl if you ain't in the playoffs. So by the slimmest of margins, 51-49, I might say give me the playoff berth if the Genie gave me a choice. What about you, Jeff? What are your thoughts?
Nobody loves the NFL draft more than me. But if it's playoffs or I get the first round pick, we're going to playoffs. There's a bunch of scenarios here why you would look at this. Number one, you want to get Deshaun Watson and his team as much work as possible because obviously now the ultimate goal is the eyes on 2023. You want to have a coach who can look at everybody and say, you want to know what? Y'all laughed at this franchise forever. I took them to playoffs twice in my first 3 years. And now I've got Deshaun Watson for the extended future. And it would just, be huge for the morale. It'd be huge for everybody in that building for what this team went through this year. Look, the first round pick would be great. And again, we're going to go through this. The Browns, other than defensive tackle and maybe linebacker, you're not guaranteeing anybody they would be drafting in round one is necessarily going to be a starter anyway. Cornerback, you loaded. You got wide receivers. You run it. I mean, so it'd be really, really tough to, take in what's behind door number one, behind door number two, the unknown over going to the playoffs. And you look at it this way. When a playoff started last year, was everybody sitting around saying, yeah, Bengals, Super Bowl, it's happening? No. But you want to know what? You ain't got a shot in the dance if you're not in the dance, G. So, for me, yeah, draft. We're going to tell them. I'm itching. I'm itching to talk draft. I am. But, and more of that will come. But you have to tell me that we are officially eliminated here first, which we are not. Again, but none of this, G. It don't mean nothing, man. You got to win the final three. And I know a lot of you guys, Browns fans, are saying, this is the way it would perfectly work. The Browns would win the next two. An opportunity. Week 18. And the Browns absolutely fall on their face in Pittsburgh, of all places, against Trubisky or maybe Mason Rudolph, because I know a lot of you, that's the scenario you're trying to paint happen. But no, man, you got this opportunity. You want playoffs, baby.
Yeah, I'll give me the playoffs. Like I said, anything can happen when you're in the dance, and that's the ultimate goal you play for. You're not playing for picks, and who knows? These picks can turn out to be horrible. They could be trash, and you could be in a very tough place. So for me, I'm going with the playoff berth. But it was tempting to take the first round pick, knowing what you know about your roster, though. I will say that.
No doubt. No doubt. We're going to continue to put out the best content we can for you guys this week. Again, for, all you folks out there already celebrating Hanukkah, enjoy your family time. Christmas coming this weekend. Browns on Saturday. Nice little 1:00 start and get this out of the way. Get to maybe, some company on Christmas Eve before the grand celebration on Sunday morning, and then we can sit back, watch some other teams play. I know we're all excited for that Broncos-Rams game on Christmas Day. Oh my God, that might be the scheduled nap of the day for me. But we're going to continue to crush it here this week. More me and G. We're going to get I'm excited. Ross Jackson. He's a Locked On Saints host. He is also our channel coordinator. I bug Ross about 2 to 3 times a day if he's not bugging us back through email. So getting to sit down, break a little bed with Ross for the holidays. Looking forward to that. Close out the week with a big monster pregame show. Maybe weather can change a tiny bit, maybe a little bit better in favor for a better overall football game. We'll be following all of that stuff here as the week continues. We appreciate all of you who make Locked On Browns your first listen every single day, whether it's here on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe. Notifications on your favorite podcast platform. Check out Roku, Locked On Cleveland Sports. You'll find us. You'll find the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Crew with G, and of course Guardians, of course Cavaliers. For your host at GBush91, at Jeff_LJ_Lloyd. It's the beginning of the holiday week. Enjoy. We love you all. We cannot appreciate you all for backing us the way you do. Everybody who's new here, the new subscribers, the new listeners, thank you so much. Get through these next couple of weeks, see where the Brownies end up. All that being said, this has been your daily delivery of all things Dog Pound, LGB on the LOB. Let's go Browns.